I told you 3, 2, 1. So
Yep.
after I say 1, you're not supposed to give like a big cough. So now our show, when it starts, you're going to hear this big cough. And
Are
then
you really?
yeah.
That's too bad. That's too bad.
Yeah.
I
So
thought it always cut me off when you start that. Doesn't it always? Oh,
no.
that's too bad.
No. So now the show, now
Okay.
episode 96 has been
It adds in it adds into the drum beat
Yeah.
that we still need to get a new one for.
Right.
After going on ACL around the ACL this week and their lead, in which they've had forever too, but it's better. Makes me ready to do something.
So much better. Yeah. The problem is that we can't do it. Like we don't know how to do it.
We're old.
Yep.
Come on, kids. Who's got some Pro Tools on their computer? Let's make some beats.
Do I look too blue? I think I'm too blue. For some reason, I'm really blue today. I got the sun like pounding in behind me.
I don't know, but it looks like you're keeping some mead behind that leather thing behind you.
Keeping some meat behind me?
Mead.
I don't even know what that means.
It's alcoholic drink from like the 1500s.
Oh.
It's what they called beer before beer.
Maybe I am. No, it's just a large window, and with the sun being low, it's just like blasting in behind me, and like right into the camera. So I had to do something. So Kathy has this old screen. I was like, wait a second, pull that behind me. But yeah, I feel like
Did you get it from an old wizard or something?
Really blue. Maybe, I don't know. She's got all kinds of stuff. You know, when we moved, I don't know if I told you this. When we moved, we downsized to move into this smaller house, and she's an only child. And
rock on, only kids, man.
Yeah, she's an only child. She was adopted. She's actually a great story. I mean, if we ever wanted to have an inspirational adoption, story on, she's a really fascinating story. But anyway, so she's an only child. Her parents passed away when she was younger. Her brother passed away, so she has no family except for her girls, and so she has kept everything. So when we moved from the old house to this house, she pulled everything out of the attics and the dormers. We literally filled up 2, not 1, but 2 storage units. And these storage units were 10 by 30.
Wow. Yeah. That's a lot of stuff.
That's
a lot of stuff.
Yeah. 10 by 30. I mean, it's basically semi-trucks. I mean, so
yeah.
2.
Yeah.
So we have lots of stuff.
How do you have that much stuff? That's crazy.
House. She
throw it away, man. Sell it.
I know her girls keep telling her to let it go. That's what I've been like. That's jokingly now when she starts talking about it, I'm like, let it go, brother. Let it go.
Just let it go. Just listen to the Frozen song.
It's hard. I think it's hard for her though, because she just it's I don't know, psychologically it's probably all that she has. But she's a great story.
I get it. I guess I'm the exact opposite from that.
Oh, me too. I am Mr. Minimalist and Mr. Purge. I mean,
there's
I get rid of
stuff
everything.
like that my mom I think is actually keeping for me for some reason. Like the past is the past, man. I don't want it. I mean, there's some cool pieces that might be interesting, but I don't want it just because it was someone else's.
Yeah. Well, and as we've gotten older, I think I've learned that no one wants your stuff. It's just stuff. Like my brother and my sister and I talk about it. My mom went through this phase a few years ago where anytime we come to the house, well, Jeannie has picked this, Joe wants this, is there anything you want of your father? I'm like, no, there's none of this. So finally my brother, who lives in town with them, has been helping them sell everything because we don't want it, and our kids don't want our stuff. So it's like, why keep it?
Yeah. The only stuff I ever wanted, I've actually already sold. So it's like, regret, like looking back, like, I kind of did want that. That's too bad.
The one thing that I want of my dad's is he has an old school, and most of our cornhole players who watch this, the younger kids are gonna be like, what the hell is this old man talking about?
Yeah.
This goes before CDs. This goes before
reel to reel.
This goes, but yes, it goes before 8-track. He literally has the old.
The reel to reels are sick sound, man. If you can get it to work,
such a deep, warm sound, and he's got some old Sony speakers that go with it, and he has like Christmas music and some old Frank Sinatra.
They make new ones. They make new ones now. I mean, they're
buy new reels.
Yeah, they're higher. I mean, they're higher def. Obviously, they're the 40, 50 years of technology that's gone into them. But I mean, that's how everything was recorded once upon a time.
Yes,
on tape. Right. So, I mean, reel to reels is kind of how it all goes down. Reel to reels sound great. And if it works, you got to keep that.
Well, it does.
That's
we still,
awesome.
I mean, every year for Christmas, My dad always fires it up, and I mean it's the old school player. I mean with the old switches and knobs and everything.
Yeah.
It sounds amazing. So when he fires up the Christmas music, we love it.
Oh wow, that is so Midwest.
I first learned when I first moved to University of Kansas, we actually had to learn, like in one of our labs, was a old school reel to reel video. So we had
Hmm.
the cut and splice video on the old reel to reel. That not that we had that technology, we didn't. It was long gone by the time I went to college. But they wanted us to appreciate how it had been done in the past. So
Can
we
you
literally
imagine? Can you
ins-
imagine how long it took to make movies? How long it took to edit movies?
yeah,
Even as simple as those movies, they had to be simple back then
and I know,
because
right?
it took so long to edit. I mean, that is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like that's where the expression comes from, and the kids probably don't realize this. I mean, that when it says you were cut and left on the editing floor. I mean, that's literally what
Yes.
happened. So when you would cut video, you literally would make a splice, pull it, make another, and literally the part you're cutting out would drop to the floor.
Same with music.
So
They did the same thing. That's how looping
yeah,
started. That's how they started looping music, was on reel to reels and cutting through and splicing. And it's
right.
all the same. Yeah. Kids are missing out, man.
Are they?
Are they? Yeah. Now they can just do it
Are
all on
they?
their computer and in their
I know.
at home, spend
Yeah,
5 seconds and do the exact same amount of work. Yeah,
I
it's
know.
crazy.
Noelle is like so amazing, and all the kids are. She'll just put some video, take some video, and then all of a sudden she
Ah,
grabs her phone, and she's just sitting there like this, and then
yeah, yeah.
boom,
My
video,
mom,
music, everything.
you know how like this stuff gets passed by generations. Like, so my mom still thinks I'm good with technology because I was good with like early 81, 82 technology, right?
Yeah,
Because I was a kid.
she thinks you're a rock star.
That's yeah, that's ancient. Like I'm hunting
Yeah,
and pecking on a computer. Like it takes me forever to do anything because I'm an idiot. And she's like, "Oh, well, you'll figure." I was like, no,
yeah.
I'm like you. This stuff is a million miles down the road from me." And I watch
No,
a kid, and they'll sit there not even paying attention. I mean,
no, that's
have
funny.
you watched kids text? They're not even looking at the
Uh,
phone. They're just like, they're just kind of looking around, taking
oh
it all
my
in,
gosh,
just texting. It's crazy. It's
I can text
crazy.
pretty fast, but I still have to look.
Yeah.
I still
I have seen kids, and it's almost like they're doing it like as a sport texting.
All right. Well, before everyone turns off the
Yeah,
show,
dude, they're all in right now.
what if they, what if they,
They're so in right
what
now. They
what are they
completely
talking
agree with what
about?
we're talking about. Yeah.
Hey, I forgot to tell you before we came on, I'm a little bit nervous, and I'm not kidding. I've got to play in a cornhole tournament tonight.
What?
Yeah, yeah. So
Really? Where?
now by the time everyone sees this, we're recording this Wednesday.
Ah,
So by
yeah.
the time everyone sees this, it's gonna be Thursday night. So I will have already played and probably humiliated myself. But not only am I playing in this thing, but the owner of our real estate company's brother, who I love, asked me to play with him. And I'm like, dude, I'm like, man, I'm like, I'm not very good. Like, I might be a little bit better than some of them, but I can talk it, but don't expect me to come out here
Oh, it's the worst. It's the
yeah,
expectations. Yeah.
that's the thing. Everyone expects me to
I
go out and
know.
like kill your
That's why I
stuff.
don't do it. It's like, I can actually play better than I say I can play. But at the same time,
Yeah, you can play a little bit. Yeah, you can play a
the
little bit.
expectation is just so high. It's like, I'm not going to live up to it. Right. So I'm
No,
just not going to do it.
that's the problem with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I'm going to suck. It's not like I'm going to be missing the board. I mean, I'll score a little bit,
We'll
but
suck compared to
I'm not
professionals.
going
And
to be.
that's
I'm
what
not
they
going to be
don't get.
Jamie Graham.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. The pros don't get it. We're going to completely suck compared to them.
Yeah.
Right. And we're going to suck compared to advanced players that go to blind draws and all that stuff.
Yeah.
We're not really going to suck compared to competitive players and intermediate players.
I can hear the comments already. Well, can't you just roll over it? Can't you just throw one of those bags where they just
Yeah,
sure,
can't
because
do
it's
it.
that easy. Yeah, I'll
Can't do
just
it.
roll over it and put it
Yeah.
in. Yeah.
Yeah, can't do it. Sorry. And it's just,
So,
we don't have the bags. I mean, we're not savants, right? So we need the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours theory, right? We don't have the 10,000 hours of bags.
yeah,
So
and right now I still need about 9,500 more hours.
yeah, I need about
or more.
9,995 hours of bag play to get there.
So
But
a little bit nervous on how that's going to go.
Nah, you'll be fine. It'll be fun. You actually played in the thing out at Shamar's. The pros and Joes.
I had Tanner Halbert as my partner. So
Right.
I mean, I just put him on the board and tried to just do
Try
what
to
I
make
could
one, put the rest on the board. If you get a 7, you get an 8. Great.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And it just so happened that the guy that I was playing against on my end. Can't remember who it was. He's got a kid who plays who's really good. But anyway, he just wasn't playing very well. But Tanner's the reason why we won. I didn't do anything.
Sure.
So anyway,
that's the whole point of that game, right? Like, you win that game when you actually get your non-pro, who's essentially, who won? Eric Davis's dad, right? He was the non-pro. I mean, come on, that guy's throwing tens.
Yes.
Right. So I mean, he's throwing nines and tens, maybe an 8 or 7 or 6 every now and then, but he's throwing high level.
Yeah.
So that's a little unfair compared to other people that are just out there kind of throwing around. So
yeah, for sure. Anyway, so a little nervous about that. We'll see how.
You'll have fun. I would, I would throw if it was something where, oddly enough, there were no people that I knew. I wouldn't care. Isn't that weird? Like, I just wouldn't care. Like, whatever. I don't know these people. But if it's people that I know from the world, from the tour or whatever, like I would feel a little nervous. Right, because I know what I've said about them, and then they're going to look at me throw and be like, "What are you talking about? How can you say anything about us?" Right?
Yeah, and I think that's the problem. I think that's why I'm a little bit nervous, because it's going to be with a bunch of people from the office, people who know me and they watch, and so they're all expecting me to be able to play. Oh well,
that's why I set the expectation low, Jeff. That's my secret in life. Set the expectations low, so it's always a pleasant surprise.
I am going. I laid them out so I don't forget them. I am going with. I'm going to go with my BG.
Hey,
Witchers.
Were you aware that our compatriot Michelle was such a friend of the BG guys? They're in Cancun. Well, they're in Mexico with them right now.
Wait a second. What?
Yeah, she and her husband Nick are in some Mexican resort. I can't remember which side it's on. With God, my brain. Rich Chamness and his wife.
Oh yeah, Rich is great.
Yeah, but did you know they were that close? I didn't know they were that close. That's pretty cool.
I'm going to have to text him immediately and ask why we were not invited.
Right.
And matter of fact, I just changed my mind. Instead, I will be going with my fire assault bags tonight. No, I'm just kidding.
I thought you were a cornhole scenario guy.
I know everyone says that. I mean, I like
because you spent like 6 months talking about them.
Well, no, I didn't. It was not 6 months. I did talk about them, just like I talk about the BG bags, and I do like the cornholes. I think when I feel, and of course this is just my opinion, when I feel all the different materials, I feel like the cornhole scenario material is it just feels really good in my hand. It feels like a really high quality.
I get that.
But the bags that I have are and now again they're cats, right? And I'm a beginner player. If I was playing with Panthers, maybe it'd be better. The Cat 3s are just too fast for my level right now. I love the way they feel, but I just have trouble keeping them on the board. And when I got some BG bags, I didn't really care for the Wizards. They felt too puffy, and so I got some Witchers, and the Witchers and the Sorcerers feel really good. I mean, when I feel the Witcher, it just feels amazing. But I mean, I like fire bags. I like my lucky Surefires that I got.
I can't even tell you what bag. I know that the bags that have felt best in my hand were made by BG and Reynolds.
Yeah, I like my Reynolds. I've got a set of Reynolds bags I like.
that actually felt the best in my hand. I mean, as far as playability,
yeah.
I've probably played the best, and this is going to sound like, well, he works for the ACL. Of course, he's going to say this. I've probably played the best with all cornhole Frank's bag.
God, game changer.
Dude, thank you. Getting older is awful, man. My brain's just not working anymore. I've probably played my best playing those, but as far as what feels good in my hand, like, I like the way it feels chunkier. Some of those bags, even though obviously they're all in the same parameter, but it's
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and that's another one. I mean, I obviously have a bunch of all cornhole bags, and I like those too. But it's kind of like playing golf. I mean, you and I play golf a little bit, and I mean, everyone has a different feel that they prefer for the ball that you're using, for the clubs that you use. I mean, everyone feels. And right now, these BG Witchers, I just for some reason, it's my best chance to throw a flat bag. I feel like I just get a good consistent feel with it. I don't know why. I'm sure it's I'm sure it's not the bag.
Yeah. For those out there that don't really think it's that big of a deal, I watched Jake Gore. Jackson had an arm injury, so he was throwing left-handed, so he can throw left-handed better than I can throw normal. but he wasn't able to throw with his right hand. And Angel Camarena was out there throwing, and they were throwing the bags that we sent for the SEC, the Johnsonville charity cornhole thing last weekend.
Yeah.
It was wet. It had rained. The bags were kind of wet. So, and they were all slides, super slow. So people see these pros and they're like, oh God, they're going to make every bag. And now they made a lot of them, but those bags were coming to a halt on the board. Right. You know what I mean? Like they weren't sliding up the board very much. So it was funny to watch even pros. And you could say like, how different they would be if they had their own bags in their hands. And the stuff that they could do. It was funny to hear Jake. Hear Jake talk about it. It's like, oh man. he's like, I don't know what it's gonna do. I was like, I know. It's raining. Yeah. You're all right. But no, I mean, but it wasn't raining hard enough for it to be slick. Does that make sense? It was just damp enough. The bags were just damp enough that when they hit the board, they just stopped.
Yeah. It was fun. I'll still never forget when we played that shootout in Atlanta a few years ago.
Crazy.
And it was crazy. Raining, and the rain water was leaking off the tent onto the ground, and kind of
seeping back toward the board,
into the court area. So when the players would miss, roll off the back or whatever, the bag would actually get wet. And I remember Ryan Smith before the finals, or maybe it was before the Final Four, he literally got his bag and put it in water. Put it in a little bit of water and just got it wet, and then went and practiced with wet bags just to be able to get used to the broadcast court, because he knew that the bags were being wet. And it worked. Smart. They actually made a great run. They lost in the finals to Noah and Cameron. Yep. At the time, Cameron had that big historic win. But that was funny that he did that. But anyway, maybe I'd be better by just picking a bag and just running with it all the time, but
probably. I mean, that would probably work. I mean, you could do what Noah does, right? I think Noah plays with whatever bags around. Right?
Yeah, I'm not that good.
Yeah. It's like, sure. I'll play those. Sure.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'll play those. While we're on talking a little bit of cornhole here, I finally reached out to, remember I told you last week when we did our power rankings, I left Alex Rawls out because he wasn't able to play in the Open. And if you remember, I said, I've been seeing videos of him on a scooter, firing cornhole bags, and I was wondering what happened. And so a lot of people may know this. I'm not sure how much he's posted on social media, but I did reach out to him. And again, I know I've mentioned this before, but again, Bernie, this is something I absolutely love about our sport. It's just the accessibility. Like if Grayson McCall is injured, I can't just text Grayson, and say, hey dude, what's going on with your shoulder?
Yeah. Quarterback at Coastal Carolina, if you don't know.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Most people probably don't know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's say this for you. If Drake May has an injured foot, I can't reach out to Drake May.
Yeah. I do. What's
say, hey dude, anyway. So I reached out to Alex, and he and I spent some time texting back and forth, and he had a procedure on his foot. He was having some pain. So he had a procedure to relieve that pain. I didn't realize that he was playing in so much pain last year. So
I still think it's the shoes, man. I still think it's the shoes, and I don't feel like the Hey Dudes people watch our show, so I feel I can get away from it. But I just don't see support in those shoes. They look comfortable. If you're going to wear them around the house or around the yard or whatever, and you're not doing anything athletic, by all means, they look as comfortable as any shoe ever made. But I don't see any support in those shoes. And so when you start, and yes, cornhole's not the most strenuous game, but you are putting body weight at times on joints, on your feet. You are moving around a good bit. Yeah. I just don't see those shoes working. Now, people swear by them, so it's obviously people know more about it than I do, but I see that that doesn't surprise me with what some of the kids wear, whether they're wearing flops or slides or Crocs sooner or later, you don't have any support. You do one wrong tweak, there's nothing to support you in your shoe that you're wearing. It's going to end up causing a problem.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why golf shoes have evolved so much, right?
100%.
Because the old ones just weren't, I mean, they were terrible. No support at all in those old golf shoes.
And they sucked. It was the leather, right? It was just leather that you took a year to wear in. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great point though. I'll follow up with him and ask him.
They'll never admit it. Not a single person that wears Hey Dudes will admit that there's a problem with Hey Dudes.
Well,
Not a single one.
no. I'm just wondering if maybe his orthopedic said anything to him.
Maybe, yeah.
Like, hey, you might want to, find yourself a nice pair of, walking or running shoes, whatever, or athletic shoes to play in. I don't know. I have no idea.
Right.
But I'm
That's a good
sure
point.
he had a discussion about it with his orthopedic. But anyway, yeah, so he had a procedure, successful, and as far as his return goes, he's trying to get back as soon as possible, but it's indefinite. I mean, he's just trying to rehab right now. So, but
Sure.
anyway,
I mean, you gotta. Some of those problems just require rest, right? You just got to get off of it, and then that's hard to do when you're playing cornhole for a living.
yeah, especially with his foot. But
Yeah.
but anyway, so for sure he'll be out indefinitely, but he will be back at some point this season.
Well, all right. So then we need to talk about that if we're going to talk about top 10 rankings, because before we get to him, I am going to say I'm going to go ahead and bring it up early.
Okay.
It was talked about on ACL Live. I was on ACL Live Monday night this week, and it was brought up to me that why don't you have Allen Rawls higher in your top 10 ranking? And I was like, well, I kind of do my top 10 as like who I think the overall top 10 best players are, not necessarily at this moment, but who I think for the season. Like, yeah, but that doesn't make any sense. Like, who's the best player right now? And I was like, well, I guess from that perspective, Allen Rawls should be number one on everyone's top 10 list right now, right? He's winning every big event right this second. So, but do I still think he's better than Mark Richards, Tony Smith, Jamie Graham, and a few others? No, I don't. So that's a hard argument. But I see their argument. He won an Open that was more like a national, probably the biggest Open we'll have all year.
It was the who's who. It was
yeah.
huge.
So he wins that in singles, and then he goes out and wins the Southeast Conference tournament. Florida, Southern Georgia, that's loaded. That is pro after pro after pro you're knocking off in that tournament, and he won that. So yeah, probably the best player right now. But I still wouldn't put him number one in my top 10 if I had to. And people were upset about that on ACL Live in the chat.
Well, and the thing is too is that I mean I get it, I get what they're saying, but
I do too.
For one thing, it's your power ranking, so you can do whatever the heck you want with it, right?
Fact.
And with mine, I try to think, okay, yes, he had a great run. If I put him head to head with player X 3 or 4 times, what do I think is going to happen? If I feel like player X would still win that series, then I'm not putting Allen Rawls number one. I'm not going to put Allen Rawls ahead of him. Right. And it's so subjective, and that's what I love about it. We all have different rankings. I mean, this week the San Francisco 49ers, they lost. Do you know how many power rankings out there still have the 49ers number one in their
even with their injuries?
Yeah,
because they know when they come back, they're going to be fine. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to play them in the playoffs, right? Everyone knows that if they get to the playoffs, not the team you want to play. Period.
Right.
End of story.
Yeah.
Right.
They're going to get beat up.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
yeah, with my power rankings, I think I talked about it last week. Now that being said, I am trying to skew mine more on the side of who's really good right now.
Mm-hmm.
So mine, I feel like I'm. What did I say last? Oh yeah, last week I think it was the "What have you done for me lately?"
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm kind of a man whore when it comes to my power rankings. It's like truly like how good are you making me feel right now with your game? So mine I think might have I might skew maybe a little bit more towards a recency bias now this year in mine. So
the thing to me is if you do that, like if I go recency bias, there's just players in that top 10 that aren't top 10 players. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they had a great week. Way to go. You had a great week. You should feel good about that. Right. Do it again a lot.
Well, and see, that's why I did put Allen Rawls into my top 5. Remember last week?
He's got to be there now. I mean, he's in my top 10.
I compared him to Brock Purdy. I said, I'm done. I've seen enough. I'm tired of questioning him, and I put him in there, and I put him in at 5 just because shame on me. I kept saying, well, all right, do it again. All right, do it again. Do it again. And all he does is keep doing it again and again. So,
yeah. Especially early.
Bore you? Am I boring you?
No, I'm
right in the middle of the
super tired, man. I don't know what's wrong with me. I think whenever the seasons change, I just get like this. I get like all stopped up, can't breathe. I don't know what it is. It happens every year. Same thing in spring when the season changes and it starts to get warm. It gets me. Sorry about that.
Hurt my feelings.
Yeah, it was not about you.
Actually, probably hurt Allen Rawls' feelings because while we're talking
about
Allen Rawls. Just like his game, he put you to sleep.
But and I talked about it Monday night. I was like, if you were to line up 20 players in silhouette. You couldn't see their faces. You didn't know who it was. All you could see was their throw and the flight of their bag. You're not picking Alan Rawls.
No.
You're not doing it, but yet he finds ways to win, and it's pretty impressive, actually. So,
well, maybe he just knows. Maybe he just knows his throw and knows his bag. Like I've
Of course
always been really impressed with Frank Modlin. He knows those game changers, and he told us on the show back when we had him on. He knows those game changers so well. He knows exactly how they're going to react to every situation, and maybe Alan's the same way with his throw.
Matt Guy's doesn't have the prettiest bag in the world, but man, is anyone more in charge of their bag than he is? Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, I got tangent. Got to love me for tangents. Stacy Moore, the commish, has reached out to me, and he wants to come on the show again and defend himself.
Defend himself from what?
He was talking about what you were saying about some of the jersey things and some of the player. The issues with bag colors and jersey colors and all that. And he wants to come on and defend himself. He felt like he was being bashed for no reason. So he wants to
his name is on our check, so he can come and host the show. He can do whatever he wants on the show. So I'm not going to say no. I don't think he has to defend himself, though.
I was like, you big baby, but sure, come on.
Yeah, I don't think he has to defend himself, but yeah, if he wants to come on and talk about it because it's a huge issue. But as I mentioned, it is something that has been a point of emphasis that they've been working on behind the scenes. And as we know now from the team's draft, there's home and away jerseys. They might be doing something with the color of the bags, but so they are addressing it. It's not like this is top secret stuff that.
Well, you know how he is, man.
Nobody knew about.
You know how he is. He's sensitive. He's a sensitive guy.
I love having him on. Of course, he can come on.
Yeah. But he wants to come on. All right, so I'll let him know.
Just sign that check.
Sign that check. That's right. Sign the check and clear your schedule for next week around noon on Wednesday.
Does he want to come on next week?
He wants to come on like today, but like it was just kind of.
Would have had him on.
Yeah, I just it's like, well, are you free? Well, I got this call, and it's like, all right, we're going to do this a week out so you can kind of carve some space.
All right.
Because we don't have time time to make time.
If I reach out to him, will he actually read my email
next week?
When
I'll text him
topics of what we want to talk about.
Yeah, I'll text him right now. As a matter of fact,
remember that?
Thursday night, folks. You're watching. This is actually Wednesday afternoon. I am texting the commish. Come on next week, noon Wednesday.
Noon Wednesday next week. Yeah. The funny thing is that last time we had him on, because he likes to know what we want to talk about. So we normally when we have guests, we send out an email that tells the topics, and so we had him on, and remember last time we had him on, and I asked him a question, and he's like,
I didn't read it.
I wish I would have had more time to think about this. I'm like, well, that's why I emailed you.
That's why I emailed you all this information, like 5 paragraphs worth of stuff that you could have read. Yeah, I know it didn't have anything to do with you making money, but I'm sure that'll be brought up.
All right, so the commission next week. The commission next week.
We'll see. I sent a text. See, the best thing is for him
he's way more busy than we are.
Got to text him at night or on the weekends, right? He's not. He won't even read that today. I guarantee it.
Did you really just send him that text?
Yeah, that's why I just sent him the text.
Okay,
come on, noon next week, Wednesday.
All right, good.
So, even though we're anti-guests, and look, I'm sending this out. I'm sending this out to all the other Cornhole podcasts. I'm sending it out to all of you. They're not all great guests, man. They're just not. It runs your show down. I love every single one of our players, but they're not all great. If they're giving you one word and one sentence answers, kills the show. Kills it.
Yeah, there's definitely good interviews and bad interviews.
It kills it.
Same in every sport.
Every sport, every business. When someone comes on and either they don't want to or they're just not good at it, they feel nervous, but one word, one sentence answers, it kills the show. Because you've allotted time for this person, you now have to create somehow out of thin air to fill that time, and so it's tough. It's tough.
I think one of the reasons why we pivoted away from guests all the time is that I felt like when we first started our show that we were great with guests and we were really getting good information, but now everyone has a podcast and they all bring guests on.
Right.
Like when we first started, we were kind of the only show on our network that was doing like really like involved interviews.
Yeah, and now they brought on
all of a
yeah.
sudden there were other shows that popped up, and they're doing interviews. So it's like, well, wait a second, why are we all going to do the same formats? That's why you and I decided to just.
I was always, I was always
topics.
more for this. I was always more for this.
I know you were, yeah.
I was all because I think
and just talk.
But I also think this has an ability, because we talk about more than just cornhole. I think this has an ability to transcend and to maybe cross boundaries into other arenas. I think we have a chance to get out in the world a little bit more than some of the others, because some of the others are so cornhole specific that if you're not just a cornhole head, you're not going to care. Right. And I think our show kind of lends itself to be a little different from that. But that was me. That was my opinion from day one. But then again,
I know.
I'm vain. I'm vain. I want to talk. So,
well, you're good at it. I mean, the podcast format just fits
for me.
Just
100%. I really want to do a true. Do you like true crime, Jeff?
I've not listened to it. Is it good?
I love it.
I mean, it must be.
I mean, you got to do your research.
People watching it.
You got to do your research. I mean, you have to know all the information. You have to do a lot of research, which I'm terrible at. So, as much fun as it would be to talk about something like that, I mean, they grind on research, so they have all the pertinent information.
I have not listened to it because probably because we're too busy watching like Netflix series for me to be able to listen to other podcasts.
I love it on trips on the car. Like, I used to be a music guy, right? Just cranking music hour upon hour upon hour. I've become kind of a true crime podcast guy.
Yeah, they're popular.
On the road. It's me and all the middle-aged women just cruising down the road, listening to true crime podcasts. I mean, like all the advertising's like just completely geared
towards women.
Yeah, it's so bad. Funny. It's like, hey, ladies. Yeah, it's. So
I'm just right now. I'm just trying to geek out on college football. I mean, it's
love it.
I don't know the problem with it though, and we need to get to our power rankings and our on, off, and in, but the problem is that I don't know if it's just because I'm getting older, but the season is going by so fast. Like, I was looking at the rankings this morning, and to see teams at 6-1, 5-2, I'm like, wait a second. So we're 7.
Yeah, I mean,
8 weeks. I mean,
Heels are 6-0, and we had a bye week. Yeah, Heels are 6-0, had a bye week already.
Yeah. I mean, so all right, so they're still halfway basically, but there are some teams who have played 7/8 games that only have 4 or 5 games left. I'm like, what the heck?
Sad, man. It kills me too, because it's my favorite season.
So depressing.
It really is depressing. And I mean, thank God they went to 12 games. I mean, I remember when it was 11, and you knew 2 of those games were not going to be good anyway, because 2 of them would be lower level games. So you had like 9 games that mattered in an entire season. Well, I mean, I guess it's still kind of that way. In a way, but I don't know. I love college football season. Just the temperature changes. You don't sweat every time you walk outside. It's just
it feels so good, doesn't it?
It's so much better.
The weather finally is broke here in Charleston, and it's just amazing.
By the way,
I hate that the season goes by so fast, but it will help when they go to the 16 team format someday also, because I know they're going to get there.
That's coming.
That will help. That'll help prolong the season as well.
The argument I loved from the NCAA about that forever was that how hard it was on academics, yet Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Dartmouth, they're all in a conference that plays in that 16 game format, that tournament format. I was like, I'm thinking if they can find the time to get some studying in, you guys can find the time to get some studying in.
I think everybody will be all right.
You're going to be all right. Everyone's going to make a lot of money. When they sell that 16 team or 12 team playoff, oh man, that's going to be so much money. So much money.
Wrapping up our
dude, college. I'm all about it, man. By the way, all right, who are you liking right now? Who are your favorites? Huh?
For college football?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I can't tell. I can't. There's so many teams that are. I think I don't know. This year, I really don't know. Like who? I mean,
Georgia.
I mean, if I had to pick one right now. Michigan is awfully.
They are probably the most complete team.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to pick one,
I just don't buy their quarterback, but he finds ways, doesn't he? He reminds me of Jim. He actually reminds me of Jim Harbaugh. Remember when he played? You'd watch him play and be like, he's really not that good, is he? And then all of a sudden, he's winning games. He's finding ways even in the NFL. He's finding ways in. I mean, slippery, makes the play that he has to make. He's not going to look pretty all game, but 3rd and 7 that they have to have, he made the play somehow. And here he is. He's got a quarterback doing the exact same thing. with
Yeah.
athletes all over the place. Michigan's good.
Right.
Georgia's good. I think Georgia's just waiting to play people.
Yeah, they
And I
just
know
lost
the SEC.
Bowers for the. Sounds like they lost Bowers for the season though. The
Yeah,
tight end, which is
I
a
mean,
big blow.
it's a big loss, but they've got so much talent. And it's so funny to hear SEC people. I mean, they play in the SEC. They play people. It's like they're not playing. They got up for one game because Kentucky was ranked in the top 20, and they beat them 51 to whatever it was. They were just waiting to play somebody. I mean, right now they're waiting. They're waiting to play someone they care about, and they're going to beat them to death. I mean, Georgia's just so good. But yeah, Michigan, Ohio State's good.
I feel like the Pac-12 is kind of. I mean,
they're playing their way out.
They really kind of. I mean, USC all of a sudden is a one-trick pony.
Yeah, they don't play defense.
I thought Oregon was really good, but of course they lost.
I mean, they lost. Really like. I think they still are really good. I think their coach screwed them in that game. I mean, you got to kick 2 of those field goals. That's all you got to do, and you win that game.
That's true. Yeah, I think Penn State's sneaky good. I hate to say that, but I think
I don't know if they're national championship good though. I think Carolina's really good, but they're not.
You know who is not good?
Really good? Who? Iowa. I don't know, man.
Is it's fool's gold, Bernie. Don't fall.
Fine, I know. I just find a way to score some points, guys. Just find a way to score some points.
I looked at the stats today, Bernie. There are 130 FBS teams.
Yep.
Iowa dead last. Look it up. Dead last in total offense.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny? They're
6-1, and they're going to win the West because the West sucks, and they're going to play Michigan in the Big Ten championship game and lose 72-3.
I got a friend. She's had 2 kids go to Iowa, but they both played in the band. Whatever. Big Iowa Hawkeye fan.
Iowa's got a good band. Yeah.
And she's sitting there telling me it's great defense. You just don't understand. I was like, man, you don't understand. You're just drinking the Kool-Aid. They're going to play a good team that can actually score points, and they're going to get killed.
Yeah. Absolute fool's gold. I mean, I unfortunately cheer for 2 of probably the biggest fool's gold teams you can ever follow in your life.
You're preaching to the choir in college football.
Yeah. Okay, North Carolina's up there. You're right. But Iowa and then the Dallas Cowboys. I don't care what you say. They haven't done squat since 1995. What, 2-3 playoff wins now? Maybe
less than the Panthers.
They haven't done anything. They are fool's gold, and of course they beat the Chargers. Right? Anytime there's a big game, they're going to lose it. But I told Kathy, we were watching the game on Monday night. I'm like, they're going to win this game. Everyone's picking the Chargers. So I'm like, no. I'm like, Dallas will win this game. But anytime there's a big game, if there's a big game against the Eagles, there's a big game against the 49ers, a big game, nationally televised game in the past against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, even when it's in Dallas, I think Aaron Rodgers is undefeated at Jerry World in Arlington. I mean, they will never win those big games.
Yeah, I got one. I got a crazy stat for you. Speaking of fool's gold football teams, there is a real, distinct possibility that Duke and North Carolina in 3 weeks play a football game where both teams are in the top 10 in college football.
That's never happened, right?
Well, like the 1940s, maybe. Back when they were both really good. The Rose Bowl has only been played 2 times outside of the Rose Bowl in California. Wallace Wade Stadium 2 years during World War II at Duke University. Okay. Because they were afraid the Japanese would bomb, whatever. But so anyway, back in those days,
that's interesting. I didn't realize that's why they moved it.
Yeah, and they moved it to one of the teams that was one of the best in the country at the time. So it was
interesting.
Back in those days,
I didn't know that.
Well, the reason ACC got so good at basketball, Jeff, I'll give you a history lesson. NC State got so tired of getting beat to death by Duke and Carolina in football, they hired this guy out of Indiana, who was a wizard in basketball. Bring him down, Everett Case. And then they dominate. They create this conference, call it the ACC. They win the first 12 years, NC State. The first 12 years of the conference. Yep. So that's how that conference got created. Because the 2 basketball powers were so good in football, another team said, we want to be good in basketball. And that's why it became a basketball conference. There you go.
For those who are listening and not watching, I just yawned, by the way.
No, that's great information. That is great information.
It actually is. And it does not surprise me that you know that.
Yeah, man. It's kind of weird, huh?
Are we ready for power rankings and on-off?
I guess.
Which one do you want to do first? Want to do power rankings since we were just talking about it?
Yeah, we can do power
recently. Mine have. I don't think mine have changed just because we had nothing this past weekend. Now there is another open coming up this weekend, right?
Mine changed. All I did was change Alex and Allen roles. That's all I
Okay,
do.
well, let's. I mean, since most people, I mean, you guys were talking about an ACL live. You were getting some pushback. So why don't you just
I stuck
give
with
your
I stuck with Jake Gore at 10.
okay.
I still think he's there. I mean, obviously Joe Neestat has a claim there, but I still stuck there. Caleb Batson 9. I switched Alec Rawls down to my number 8 spot because of the injury. Right, I'm keeping him there in my lucky 8 spot because I can put anybody I want in that 8 spot, even though he's not playing. Still
You're
the
putting
talent
Alex
level.
Rawls at 8.
Yep, just
Okay.
because that's my lucky number spot. Right, I can put anybody in there that may or may not be inside the top 10. Number 7, JBJ, Justin Burton Jr. I've moved Allen to number 6. Even though he's winning everything in the world, he probably should be number 1. But
the public pressure got
the
to you.
public pressure got to me. I've got Allen at number 6. Then I've got Devin 5, Fisher 4, Jamie 3, Tony 2, Mark Richards number 1 still.
Oh, wow. See, I think mine is way better than yours.
Okay. Hit me.
All right. So my number 10 was a tie, if you remember last week. Actually, I'm not sure if we got to these last week. I might have run out of time. Shocking.
No, we did. And we did.
Number 10, I had a tie. Matt Guy and Trey Birchfield.
I remember that.
I get it. Yeah. I get it. I'm starting to do a little recency bias. I don't care. I'm going to be a man whore about it. I don't care. Matt Guy and Trey Birchfield, number 10. Number 9, Ryan Wiedenfeld. I just like the way I watched him play a little bit, like the way he was playing up in Rock Hill. Number 8, Devin Harbaugh. Number 7, Fisher Hamilton. Number 6, Justin Burton Jr. Took him down a little bit. And at number 5, Allen Rawls. I talked about this last week. He's my Brock Purdy, and I'm just not doing it anymore. So I shouldn't say all in because I'm not putting him number 1, but I am putting him in my top 5. Speaking of Rawls brothers, Alex not in my top 10 only because he's injured, and I just until he gets back, until we know when he's coming back and what he's going to play in, that's why he's not out. But anyway, so Allen Rawls, number 5. Number 4, Caleb Batson. I love watching Caleb play. Sure. I talk about some of these guys who I just like to follow. I've talked about that with Jamie. I've talked about it with Justin Burton Jr., several of them. But Caleb is one of those guys I just love watching him play. So Caleb Batson, number 4. Jamie Graham, number 3. And then I moved Mark Richards out of the number 1 spot. Didn't have a great weekend, obviously, in singles in Rock Hill, but still, it's Mark Richards, right? So number 2, and then number 1, Tony Smith. So,
by the way, I think since we're talking top 10, I think there might be a player that finds his way in my top 10 at some point this year if he continues on his path of play. I think Logan Chamberlain's getting that good.
Oh, he's been in my anytime we've had a chance to talk about honorable mention or other players receiving votes, he's been right in there. I mean, he is in there. Gavin Cano is in there.
Yes, Gavin for sure.
Oh, and I know I'm forgetting somebody else.
See, Matt Guy, like
right there.
That's probably my 11, 12, and 13 players right there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Totally worth mentioning. And Logan, Logan, he's another guy I just like. I mean, he and Justin were my preseason favorite on the double side.
They're so good, man.
I love watching those guys play. I mean, they're just an exciting style of game. So, all right, you ready for on, off, and in before we wrap things up?
Yeah, we can do that. Let me.
I hope yours is better than. I hope yours.
No, mine is awful again. Where is my? There we go.
All right, so on, off, and in. I'll start because I just kind of ruined my on. So my on the board is my power rankings. I really kind of do like, and I think it's gonna be more fun for me this year. I truly, I was just joking about being a man whore, but my power rankings are gonna be a what have you done for me lately, and who knows if it's right, who knows if the recency bias will come back to bite me, but I do like kind of just a little different dynamic to my power rankings.
Okay, I like it. My on. I said it a couple weeks ago. I'm not really on this show, but with other people. Carolina Panthers are going to go winless, and I said it when they were 0-3.
Did you say that? I don't remember that. Did you say that?
Yeah, I didn't say it on this show, but they're just not good.
That's
and I think if you have children out there, kids, and they're college age, high school age kids, you point to Bryce Young and you say, that's how good that's what interviews mean. Because if you looked at them on tape, C.J. Stroud was the better player. Bryce Young crushed the interview. Crushed it. Left everyone in the room thinking, wow, this kid's amazing. Crushed it. Gets picked number 1, gets all that. He's just not ready. He may someday be ready down the road, but he's not that kid right now. C.J. Stroud's winning games. Not a lot, but he's winning games as a rookie. He's a more pro ready player. But Bryce killed the interview. So if you've got kids out there, you can be a little deficient here and there in whatever field you're going into. But if your interview is great, you'll be surprised. So that's my on the board. Panthers are going winless.
Oh man, he's just so small. He's so small. You know, the angle, they get such great angles now on when you're watching the games on TV, and sometimes they'll show that kind of on-field angle from behind the quarterback to see what they're seeing.
Small. He can't see.
He can't see it. So, and you and I have talked about this off the air many times. When you take away that first check down of his on the guy coming across the middle on the slant route, you know, you take that away, he doesn't know where to go. He can't see.
Yeah,
I mean, he's just so small. So
football people would tell you, football people would tell you it's the offensive line's job to create lanes. Well, then why do you pick him even more? Because you've got a suspect offensive line. You pick the taller kid with the better arm, right? I mean, like that's just crazy to me.
And that's so. I mean, it's so easier said than done. To make him a lane. Okay, right.
Yeah.
You got a defensive lineman, right? I mean, these guys are big, they are strong, and they are so fast
and mean.
I'm not sure people realize how fast these big guys are. They are freaks of nature. So now I'm supposed to block him, and I'm also supposed to try and create some sort of visual lane.
Block him into a space where the guy next to me creates the same space. You know what I mean? Like,
it's just not that easy.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right. Off the board. I joked about this last week. I could be. This is a preemptive off that this is a preemptive off the board that I hope I am wrong about. I did sell my car. I sold the Mustang and I got a boat. I got a boat. So I'm a man on a boat now. And this could be a huge off the board. This could be huge. I hope it's not. But
man, I wish we had sound effects.
Yeah.
My off the board, once again, my on, off, and on. I apologize. This is all me this week. This is all about me, not you, the viewer or the listener. This is all about me. My off the board, I thought at this point the Heels would have blown a game. They're 6-0, top 10. I thought they would have been typical North Carolina football, lost to somebody. I mean, they try. You know, they've played a couple of bad games, but they're winning. They shouldn't win. They shouldn't lose the next 2 games. Or 3 games, actually. So they're going to end up probably being 9-0. They're already in the top 10. God, 3 weeks, no more losses. Man, and I'm going to the Clemson game. I'm going to.
Is this going to be?
This is it.
They stumble.
Virginia.
Right. You're waiting. You've been waiting for the proverbial other shoe to drop.
Well, if it's going to drop, it's going to drop in Atlanta because for some reason Mac Brown can't beat Georgia Tech. I think we've lost the last 3 against them, and they're terrible. Yeah. No offense to Georgia Tech fans, but they're awful.
Don't be Miami. Don't be Miami.
We already did beat. We never lose to Miami. That's the craziest.
I'm saying don't be the Miami team that lost to Georgia Tech in the final play of the game when they should have taken a knee. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they should win those 3 games. Then you play. Yeah, and I'm going to the Clemson game, so I really hope they're undefeated going into that game because I am going to be a jackass.
Shoot, we only have a minute left. We got to go.
Yeah. All right.
So Which am I going? My turn again?
Yeah, it's your turn.
In the hole. Okay. In the hole. And mine again, just like you, mine's gonna be very selfish. The Dallas Cowboys. We already talked about it. I knew they're gonna be at the Chargers. They cannot win a big game. I've been saying this forever. Dak is good. He's not great. The Cowboys are good. They're not great. They've done nothing since 1995. People who hate the Cowboys, I always say, why? Why do you hate them? We've done nothing. We've done absolutely nothing. Never win a big game. Of course we can beat the Chargers. The Chargers are a mess. They got a defensive coach. I mean, they're not creative offensively. They were better with Kellen Moore. They did have some nice plays. I did like that. But of course the Cowboys are going to win that. Put them in a big game, they're not going to win it. I mean, I say it all the time. So that's my in the hole.
All right, my in the hole. The Boys and Gen V on Amazon Prime are awesome. It's super weird, sarcastic hero take. They're like superheroes yet, but they're run kind of by corporation. Like it's this really interesting take on what would happen if there actually were superheroes in the world, like for real.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. Look, it's silly at times. It's kind of cheesy at times with some of the subject matter, but they are awesome. If you get a chance, you should watch both those shows.
Is that the one you told me about when we were in Portland?
Yeah, it's The Boys. And then this is an offshoot called Gen V. It's like these kids go to college to learn how to handle their super. Yeah, it's hysterical.
All right,
So,
dude, we got to go. Hey, good luck to
all right,
everybody playing this weekend, and I'll talk to you next week.
all right, buddy.
All right, bye, everybody.